Today I'm going to talk with you about how to rent your home in a slow rental market. Now the rental market is a cycle. Sometimes we have boom times where you have tenants lining up down the street, thrusting option fees in my hand saying, Adam, I want to rent that house. Right now is not one of those times. Now it's more a case of I'm standing at a rental home open, looking out in the street there, is anyone going to turn up? So if you're having a hard time renting your property, there are things that you can look at to improve, and there's 3 P's that can be worked on for renting out a property. The first one is the property itself, the second one is the promotion of the property, and the third is the price or rental amount. So let's think about the property first. If your house is not leasing, take a look at your property from a potential tenant's perspective. Is it rent ready? So just drive up to the house and look at the front to start with. Does it look appealing? You're comparing to all the other houses around and there's a lot to choose from. Does your house look good? Start with the front. Have a look at the letterbox. Is it overflowing with junk mail? If it is, it looks like the house has been empty for some time and unwanted. Clean it up. And speaking of letterbox, is your house easily identifiable? Did you know that sometimes there isn't a clear house number or sometimes even no house number? How is someone going to find your property to lease it? Okay, empty that letterbox, have a nice and identifiable house number there. Then look at the driveway. Is the driveway nice and clear? All the weeds are whippersnippered, the oil stains are removed? Okay, good. Let's look at the lawn. Mown, green. You can fix both of those. Get a lawnmower and every time you go to the house do some watering. Maybe even put fertilizer on. Probably hasn't had any for years. Okay, tidy that up. Then looking at the gardens. Okay, the side garden beds, trim them back so they're neat and tidy. The front of the house. If there's vegetation obscuring the front windows, growing up into the eaves and gutters, cut it back so that the house frontage can be visible and shown. Also, that's good for security, and some of your potential tenants will be wanting the house that's secure. Alright, so that's the outside of the property. Let's step inside. Alright, I'm going inside the door. Does it smell okay? Alright, it had better smell okay. If it doesn't, go down to the local supermarket and buy some plug-in deodorizers. And as well as deodorizing, actually deal with the smell issue. Where does the smell come from? Is it carpets? Clean the carpets. Is there something dead somewhere in that house? A rat or something like that? Go and find it and remove it, okay? Or you'll have another week with no rent coming in. Alright, so get the smell right. Have a look around for rubbish. If you've got old tenant belongings there, take them out, get rid of them. Alright, and speaking of rubbish and dying things, if your house has been vacant for a while, you're going to start to attract cockroaches committing suicide in the bath. You're going to have dead moths in the corners of the windows. You're going to have little mouse droppings in the drawers. So take your vacuum cleaner, take a dustpan and brush and clean up the house. You don't want to scare off these potential tenants. You've perhaps only got 3 or 4 minutes when they walk through a home open for them to decide if this is the property for them. Alright, so as you walk through, check out all of the rooms, turn the lights on. Oh, the light doesn't work. Make sure you've got light globes that are all working in every single room of the house. That's an easy one and very cheap to fix. Okay. While you're there, if it's summertime, make sure your air conditioner is working. Clean the filters so it's all smelling nice and cooling properly. Test it. Make sure that's all functioning. If it's winter, make sure your heater is working if you have a heater. Okay. Have all of the amenities for your property functioning well. That's what you need. Okay. So we've dealt with the first P, which is property. We've brought it into the kind of condition that someone can walk in and say, hey, I like this property. How can I apply? All right. The next P is promotion. So once you've tidied up the property, then you want to look at the promotion or marketing of your property to let the world know that you have a rent-ready property. Okay, how do you do that? The first thing is professional photography. You need the lighting, the good camera equipment, the visual angles that a professional photographer will do to show off your property the best. And particularly if you've just done a refurbishment or renovation, take the photos then. You'll be able to use them over and over for future leasings. It's worth the perhaps $150 expense that's required to get a photography session to show off your property, because visual is so important, and often the main impression people will get is the photos that they see online when they're searching for a rental. Speaking of online, the next thing we're going to say is make sure you are online at least on realestate.com and rewa.com. They're the two main sites that people look at for renting in Western Australia. And if you are in a larger suburb, something like Morley, Midland, Perth, where there's a lot of rentals, you're going to need to get a feature property listing in there, which will rank above the average search rankings. Otherwise, if you just go as a standard listing on realestate.com, very quickly you will fall back to the second and third pages and not be visible. So make sure you're getting a highlight property listing. And I should mention that all HouseSmart rentals automatically get feature property listing in realestate.com. With your property, once it's cleaned up and ready for renting, you may want to consider using a for lease sign at the property. This is particularly good on busier roads where there's going to be traffic getting past your property. It may just catch somebody who's thinking about renting in that area, and it also helps potential tenants that are looking for your property to identify and go, this is the one. Okay. Then as far as the promotion or marketing of your property, you need to have it open at least twice a week, and one of those viewings needs to be on a weekend. Now, a lot of agents perhaps only open the property one time a week and maybe only for 15 minutes. That's probably not going to get the property leased in a slow rental market. All HouseSmart vacant properties are advertised and opened twice a week, every week, half hour open until they're leased. So we do that continuously, because in a slow market you need actions taken. The phone will not ring, people will not inquire, but they might attend a home open if they see it marketed as such. So you need property managers opening your property twice a week, including a weekend viewing, because weekend viewings are when working people can easily attend, and you generally want a working rather than a non-working tenant. So we've covered the first two P's, the property, getting the property rent ready, and the promotion, getting the property marketed correctly. We'll look at the third P now, which is price. We need to have the right rental amount to get your property leased. Now, as far as a potential tenant goes, they have a lot of houses to choose from, and probably the thing that they're going to do is sort by price, because if you can get an equivalent house at a cheaper rent, you're going to go for that one. So you need to be aware of what other similar properties are leasing for. Now, I've already mentioned that we need to be opening your property twice a week. So what I suggest is, if we have done 2 weeks or 4 home opens and you do not have any applications on the property, you need to reduce the rent. Just keeping the rent at the same level will result in empty time, and you can never get back your empty time. Okay, and also there are other risks involved with having your property vacant for a longer time, like squatters, vandalism, or unnoticed maintenance issues occurring at the property. So after 2 weeks or 4 home opens, if there are no applications on the property, review the rent and cut it. Now, don't just cut it $10 a week. You need to cut it early, so don't procrastinate and keep on waiting, and you need to cut it hard. $20 reduction minimum. I would consider even more in the current market. So I'll give you an example. If your property is at $450 a week, you've done 4 home opens and you have not leased it, cut it to $420 immediately. Run it for another 2 to 4 home opens. If it still hasn't leased, cut it again by another $20 to $400. So that's the kind of cuts that you need to be doing. Respond to the market. The market is sending you a signal. We do not want to rent your property at the current value. Okay. Now make sure you've addressed those other first 2 P's first. So rent is not the only reason your property might not be leasing, but if you've covered the property, so you've got it in rent-ready condition, if you've covered the marketing, so it's being marketed well, then it is price. So cut that rent and avoid having an empty property. A final note I want to say on this leasing process in a slow market is there's a temptation there to go for a lower quality tenant. So, whereas you might have had very tight screening standards in the past, now you've said, it's been vacant for 4 weeks. Look, I know this applicant doesn't have a job. They've got 3 dogs, and they're a compulsive smoker. But look, let's just get someone into the house. Let's put them in. Don't do that, please. Okay? I'm telling you, it's still cheaper to have your property vacant rather than to have an eviction. And the easiest eviction you're ever going to do is just to decline an application. So please keep your rental standards high. Do not drop them. Okay? And wait for that good tenant. Don't risk the whole condition of your property by putting a subprime tenant in there. And so if you have this empty time, do you remember a few years ago when the rental market was really hot, when people wanted to move in straight away and you had a few maintenance issues that you wanted to fix at the property but you just couldn't get in? Well, now's your time. So use this empty time to refurbish and renovate your property and improve it, which will also help you to get a tenant faster. If you want to work with me, with a property manager that is looking out for your best interests, with someone that knows the 3 Ps of leasing a property, with someone who will get a tenant of quality into your house, then contact me, Bettison at HouseSmart, for the best property management results. Thank you.